Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about The Ultimates issue 9 by Dennis Camp, Chris Allen and Federico Blee. The Ultimate Luke Cage joins the fight against the Maker this issue as Dennis Camp treats us to the secret origins of Carl Lucas Luke Cage, who in this universe doesn't get his amazing powers from an experiment in prison. In fact, his life is changed forever long before that thanks to the Maker's influence, which sees Luke sent to prison when he is 15, with his lawyer even not understanding why he was being incarcerated in such a major way at such a young age. Camp gets really confronting right off the bat here, and while Luke is thrown in jail so he won't get his powers, obviously because that's what the Maker wants to happen, it's really obvious as well that he's being sent to prison because he's just a black man. This is the real reason why he's being sent to jail, and no one will bat an eye at it since he's just another black man being sent to prison. The book follows two time periods: the present as Luke is sent to Gordium Correctional Facility, the prison owned by Midas, who we saw in the early pages of the Ultimates book, and then there's Luke's first time in jail in 2006, where he's incarcerated in Seagate. Luke's time in jail is not quiet, as he is the target of the AIM soldiers who give him irregular beatings, citing him as a troublesome individual as per his file. Now this is basically the Maker ensuring that he will stay docile or, under his control. He won't ever have a chance to do anything against him. However, that's where he's kind of wrong, since thanks to these beatings, Luke decides to train his body, turning himself from a skinny 15-year-old into a fortress of a man. His body isn't the only thing he trains though, as he has access to books, and he is able to train his mind, reading various books like Soledad Brother, the famous book about George Jackson's prison letters which detail the racism of the American prison system. Now every once in a while you'll get a comic that confronts real world problems, and Camp doesn't shy away from criticizing the American prison system, which time and time again we've seen in the news for its systemic racism and treatment of prisoners, specifically minority prisoners. Between the treatment Luke receives through regular beatings as well as the books he reads, he is galvanized and he decides he wants to help free these prisoners from their oppressors. During his various travels between different prisons over the years, Luke ends up befriending Danny Rand, another prisoner who implores him to keep his head down and do his time, something Luke has no intention of doing whatsoever. Luke begins teaching Danny and various other prisoners things he's learned from his books and his time in different prisons, telling them the idea of the prison is to make them non-people, kind of take away their identity and individuality, and to dominate the prisoners through power, something that he knows he needs to give back to the people. I really like the focus on Luke's intelligence this time around. He's always been a pretty smart guy, but I love the change that his first quote-unquote power here is him being really charismatic and well-read, able to sway these people around him and inspire them to actually stand up for themselves and to be an actual person, not a thing like these AIM soldiers want them to believe they are. There's this old saying about the pen being mightier than the sword, and Luke is applying that in his early plans to break out of prison here, and I think that's really damn cool. Luke's talk begins to sway a lot of the prisoners into believing that they can rise up against their captors, and in January 2024, after Luke receives one of the worst beatings of his time in jail, he's visited by Tony Stark's message, which offers him a chance to take back the life that was stolen from him by the Maker. Luke accepts the gift and is given his powers by Tony's device, and a year after receiving the powers, we find Luke organizing a breakout of Gordinium, the most recent prison he's been sent to, setting aside stolen weapons and items for the big breakout he's planning with Danny and the others. Unfortunately, they are found out by some of the guards, and they are led to be made an example of, with the AIM soldiers deciding to execute him and the others via firing squad. The soldiers' words here really hit home that this was never about reforming prisoners or punishing those who did wrong, like the various messages we hear throughout the prison from Midas. They all want you to believe that you're there to reform and become a better person, but that's not what it is at all. And these soldiers just make it known that he is a criminal, it's in his nature, and he'll always be a criminal, even if he doesn't break the law. Again, I like just how plainly Camp writes this. He's not veiling it in something else or hiding it behind something. He's just outrightly saying that Luke is in there because of his skin color. And these AIM soldiers soldiers enjoy that. Luckily, Luke already has his powers, and the bullets the guards fire at him merely bounce off his skin. Since the book is covering 2 timelines, we actually get to see Luke's first breakout after he initially gets his powers at Seagate, leading the prisoners to overtake the prison in the name of the people, while in the present, he does the same in Gordium. Kemp then does something really fucking cool with Luke, since you assume he's gonna, break out with Danny and the others, and they're gonna go, into hiding, much like how he did in the 616 universe after he got his powers and he broke out of prison. But here, it's something different, as Tony Stark arrives at the prison after seeing the news of the Seagate riot, and he offers Luke a place on the team. But Luke declines the offer and instead knows he can actually do more good inside the system than out of it, thus wanting to stay in prison, and it explains why after Seagate he got sent to Gordium. Luke's reasonings are actually really interesting and at its core the sign of a true hero, as he knows that he himself cannot be freed until everyone is freed. So Luke travels between prison to prison, transferring between them and leading riots alongside Danny and the other prisoners to free those wrongly convicted. Now, one thing I begun thinking about this is that he's freeing loads of people who have been wrongly imprisoned, and we've seen that throughout this Ultimates book, where this world is basically a dictatorship, and if you speak out against the government, you're either killed or incarcerated or their mind is wiped. There's very little freedom in this world, and we've seen that play out throughout all of these books. However, there's also this little thing that, there's all these people who are wrongly convicted, but then there would also be people who are actual, killers, child abusers, people who actually deserve to be in prison. Seemingly, it's like Luke is freeing everyone, so are they getting freed as well? It was never really made clear, and it's something that I think would be a really great basis for an ultimate Luke Cage plot, where Luke's got to wrestle with this idea of wanting everyone to be freed because they deserve it, but then also realizing that there are some people who actually don't deserve it because of their crimes or who they are as a person. It's just something I wish was a little bit more explained in the issue, because the issue is quite light on dialogue. A lot of it is just told through Chris Allen's wonderful artwork, and I think maybe it could have used a little bit more of a script to sort of explain that idea where Luke knows he's not freeing the actual people who deserve to be in prison. As the Power Man leads a prison-wide revolution, She-Hulk continues to wrestle with the fact that she is the reason Tony Stark is currently confined to an iron lung, fighting for his life. She-Hulk tries to bring her own experiences with pain and fear to the conversation she has with Tony, having felt it herself and more during her transformation, but she knows what brought her back was the promise she made to her people, the promise to protect her people, and it's the same promise that Tony has also made, so he needs to get better and come back, since he needs to fulfill his promise like she intends to do. She-Hulk's talk with Tony does spur something in the hero, as she leaves, Tony seemingly awakens from his coma, and I guess we'll have to wait till next month to find out if this means he's stuck in this suit or what will happen with Tony Stark in this universe. I do really like what Camp is doing with She-Hulk though, making her a much more solemn, reserved character that feels the weight of what she is and her role in the world and Ultimates. It's very much a role we would see Bruce Banner usually fill, but shifting it to She-Hulk and then also making Banner the source of that pain and fear is so thoroughly interesting, and hopefully we're due another She-Hulk centric issue very soon, since we got that initial one where it set up who she is and what she is doing. I feel we need a little bit more since a lot's happened since then. Ultimates issue 9 was a powerhouse of an issue, really confronting with Camp exploring the American prison system and its treatment of inmates, specifically the treatment of minorities within the system designed to keep them down. Luke Cage's mission to free everyone is a thoroughly interesting one that I feel we only just scratched the surface on here, and I really want to see more of this journey going from prison to prison, helping those who can't help themselves and giving people back their freedom in a world that has taken that freedom from them. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.